This is Motherhood Unmasked, the podcast for real talk about the challenges moms face. I'm your host, Vanessa Harris, but Mama, you are the hero, so leave your mask at the door. We're all friends here. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Motherhood Unmasked. I'm so excited to have you here. Well, what a time to start a podcast. For the benefit of those listening years from now, we are currently in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has us sequestered in our homes practicing physical distancing. And that's changed all of our realities, moms included. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a mom who works outside the home, we're all at home with the additional responsibilities of teaching our children, finding and constantly preparing food on top of our non-stop accessibility to our children. And it is more than a notion. You're stretched so thin, you don't have time to find your mask. What mask? The one we moms normally wear. The one that says you've got this whole situation under control, your kids are perfect, and you have the social media posts to prove it. No, ma'am. The only mask we care about these days are the respiratory kind, as we fight to keep our families and homes infection-free. And in case you're wondering, the title Motherhood Unmasked isn't a play on words based on the current pandemic. I had the idea for this podcast complete with the title last year and even recorded a couple episodes in the fall, but I didn't follow through. Part of it was because of the busyness of family life, but I have to admit it was also my insecurity. I wasn't sure moms would be interested in the kind of transparency that happens when you're willing to drop the mask and have honest conversation about the challenges you and I face as moms and the courage we need to meet them. So I shelved the whole idea. But then came the coronavirus, and it's forced us to drop our masks because everything's not okay, and we're too overwhelmed to pretend otherwise. Our lives have literally stripped down to what really matters most, the people we live with every day and our purpose in life. For years, I thought my purpose was in practicing medicine. After residencies in pediatrics and preventive medicine, I looked forward to going into maternal and child health and working at the policy level. But when I got married and then pregnant with our first child, God interrupted that plan with the call to stay home and take care of my own children. And that was hard to swallow. I'm a recovering control freak, so the thought of having my plans hijacked after all the years of study, student loans, and training didn't sit well with me. But I knew God was right. Aside from the impact our frequent moving as a military family would have on my career aspirations, God knew there were pieces of my motherhood puzzle I needed to figure out beyond all my pediatric training. Pieces like what kind of mom I want to be and how my childhood experiences help or hinder that. How the choices I make with my children eventually affect theirs, so what kind of legacy do I want to leave? And the trickiest puzzle piece of all, how do I become that mom when I didn't see that modeled growing up? So I learned a lot over the years in the lab called home. It wasn't easy. The truths I faced were uncomfortable and required decisions that quote-unquote people didn't always agree with, but were best for the kids God gave my husband and me. So when moms at the park, the grocery store, or at the mall struck up conversation with me, I realized they needed the same thing I did. To understand their value in their children's lives goes well beyond clean diapers, stocked pantries, full bellies, and free taxi service. You're not only the heartbeat of the home, you impact generations. Living that out is totally attainable. It's just a matter of perspective. Now, to be clear, this podcast is not about how to raise your kids. There are plenty of books and other podcasts doing that. This podcast is about nurturing and empowering you to do what God chose you to do. Be the mother to your children. It's a space for real talk about the challenges you face and the support you need in your motherhood journey. And if you'd like a coach or cheerleader, I'm here for you. Does that mean I have it all figured out? No, I'm on the journey just like you. But by taking off the mask and encouraging you to do the same, I hope to do a twist on what I wrote in my medical school application essay years ago. Help give your kids a firm foundation from which to approach the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode of Motherhood Unmasked. I appreciate you and the friends and mentors who poured into me, especially the ones who encouraged me to start this podcast. So until next time, remember, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care. Thanks so much for joining me today. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. That way you get notified about new episodes while helping other moms discover the show. Motherhood Unmasked is sponsored by Vine Life Faith, where we're breaking negative cycles and building healthy community through connection with Christ. VineLifeFaith.com.